because they'll have something to draw on, you know. Let's see. Yeah, they'll have something to draw on when they want to expand, you know, and have sort of a base of their peoples. So that's the idea. And by the way, I will respond to what people have been saying about my whole spiel about why people should love America and not hate it. But the thing is, at the time of this recording, I have not yet uploaded all the episodes. So I'm going to wait until they are all uploaded before I talk about it. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. But it's very interesting. And just like I thought, I have people who are both agreeing and disagreeing with what I have to say. Alright. It's going to be nice. But overall, people have been responding very intelligently. One thing I have seen a lot, though, is there are a lot of people who had the impression that I asserted at one point during my spiel that I thought that America had more or less single-handedly won World War II. And I don't remember exactly what I said that had people thinking that, but I clearly don't believe that America won World War II on its own. I mean, obviously, you know, we had a little, minor supporting help from the Russians. Lol, I'm just kidding. No, I know that, the Russians provided a bulk of the manpower and, carried the brunt of the losses. I don't want to minimize what any other country did in the war. But when you think about it, I mean, the Russians might have had their big production facilities out in the Ural Mountains, but really, where did they get so much of their stuff? Who was supplying them much of the time with equipment? We were. By the end of the war, the Russian army had become very mobile, whereas the Germans were pretty much literally going back to horse and buggy type stuff because their transportation was shot to shit because it didn't have oil. Well, we were supplying the Russians. So even when it comes to the Russians, we were giving them oodles and oodles of help. And the same with the English. Long before we actually ever set a foot, stupid game crash, but whatever. As I was saying, yeah, I know we are building low density, but that's kind of the point. Have you been paying attention, Mr. Game, to what we have been doing? But yeah, before we set a single boot into a European country, we were already, with Lend-Lease and all those kind of programs, supplying the British, first and foremost, but other countries as well, with military equipment. So, in a lot of ways, it was American production, driven by, out of the range of German bombers, which was not true for any European country. American production was the engine that kept the whole war effort going in Europe. And not putting down what anyone else did, of course. But that was sort of, that was the main economic powerhouse. I mean, like I said before, the Germans, we shut them down with bombing raids. I mean, us and the British together really shut down the German production machine. Yes. And I had at least one British person in the comments of one of the videos being all like, oh, you didn't remake Britain, we have our own culture, and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And, I might have given off the impression that I'm somehow, like, putting down England or something, but in reality, it's, like, pretty much my favorite place after America and Canada, I guess, would be, of course, the good old UK. I'm going to have to do a spiel on how much I love the English at some point, and how much I like the royal family and all that stuff, because it's pretty neat stuff. You know, a lot of Americans don't like it, but I like it because it's cool. How could you not like it? That's what I say. But yeah, we really didn't rebuild England like we rebuilt most of Europe because, well, for one thing, England was never occupied by the Nazis. They never had an occupational government, and, whenever the Nazis occupied a country, they were quite invasive, you could say. They were not very delicate in how they ran things when they occupied a country. So pretty much any country that the Nazis occupied was broke all the shit. And we pretty much had to fix it after the war. But England, while it was highly damaged by bombings, was never actually invaded by the Germans. We all know about Operation Sea Lion, which was planned but never executed. It would have been a hell of a hard thing for the Germans to take over Britain at any time. But I don't know. Even if it had worked, which I kind of doubt, it would have come at such high cost to the Germans that I'm not even sure it would have been worth it in any way. But in any case, it never happened, and England pretty much remained free of occupation. And of all the European countries, as much as you can consider England a European country, in my mind it's sort of off on its own, but it retained, England of all the European countries, retained much more of the old ways than any of the other Europe. That's why, England is more conservative, both politically and culturally, than the rest of Europe. Why they might seem more old-fashioned in some ways, which I clearly see. The English, more than any other European country, seems to be sort of in the past. Of course, I spent the last episode saying the same about America, so, maybe it's just an English-speaking thing. Who knows? It's entirely possible. And what I'm doing now is sort of a fun little hacky way to get 3x1 squares along here, because we all know that when you zone in a diagonal, it bugs the crap out, and it just reaches over and kicks you in the nuts. So what we are doing now is this is basically a groin cup. We were putting a groin cup on the nuts to keep us happy. Oops, what am I doing? The road goes there. Let's see if we can do the same thing in the other direction. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have figured out how to hack SimCity. Not hack in the sense of, break into the code, but hack as in you know, sort of like life hacks, but in games. So we have brought, I'm kind of impressed with myself now because I have brought a metaphor right back around to its original intention, but now using its new definition. I am the cleverest of all cats. Can the cat in your house talk? Can it play games? I don't think it can. I think I can. Therefore, I am smarter than your cat. Sorry, I'm sure your cat's cute, and I'm sure it's wonderful. It's just not as smart as me. Sorry to say that. It's just something you're gonna have to accept. Oh man. But my cat doesn't assert that America won World War II on its own. Oh, be quiet. Lol, lol, lol. Okay. There we go. Yeah, this weird patchwork of zones is almost beautiful in its own way. It's pretty interesting how these things work out. We're just going to keep plodding forward and see if any of these higher wealth stuffs flop into our city. I think I'm going to put the medium or the max population city in the center, or near the center, because I think that's going to be the best way of doing things, because then they'll be able to commute for jobs elsewhere, because, you know, if it's max population, I'm obviously going to want it to be residentially heavy. So, that's the idea there. Oh man. But yes, I am glad that the comments of the last few videos were not flooded with ignoramuses saying like, "Oh, America sucks, man. You suck for being American," and stuff, because like, I pride myself on having a higher caliber of viewers than your average, you know, video of funny fails and stuff. Because if you come to the Bone Canoe channel, it obviously shows that you are a person of refined taste. And that is a very wonderful attribute to have. And I thank all of you for being tasteful. Because if there were not people with good taste in the world, my channel wouldn't exist. Especially as people who come to my streams. They're full of good taste. Isn't that right, guys? I know some of you are there. I'm pretty happy with how this is coming out so far, but I think I want to check the water situation. And also one thing, like the visuals and the numbers of medium and high wealth don't always add up, just because, you know, high wealth buildings are bigger. You know, you might have this big mansion, but only 19 people live in it or something, which is a lot for like a real life mansion, I would suppose, unless it's a great house, you know. If you don't know what a great house is, it's one of those things you see in movies or whatever when, like, there's this like really, really rich person, not a 1%er, I'm talking about a 0.01%er, like somebody who's just like really ridiculously rich and has like an army of servants. Like he has multiple servants, he has his own chefs, you know, he has full-time gardeners for the gardens, he has a chauffeur. Like, his staff is so big, he needs a head butler, you know, to be the boss of all the other butlers. I mean, for instance, if you've ever seen the movie Being There, the movie features this, like, old rich guy who certainly fits that mold of having a great house, you know. And the rich guy isn't shown as being a jerk or anything, which is kind of cool because, like, it's very easy to show people like that as being, like, these callous jerks, but this guy seems, you know, by and large, to be a decent fellow. But yeah, the movie Being There is